sap them of their energy, and in fact waging a civil war inside of their body. And it's a reality that I see frequently in people who feel exhausted. I'm going to talk about sleep in a few minutes, so I'm not going to touch on that. But the last item that comes about, that always is there when people have a lack of energy, is they don't have a focus. And you remember, where your focus is, your energy flows. So if your focus is going in the wrong direction, your energy is going to flow in the wrong direction. So by pulling that focus back towards things that really matter to you, together with the tips I've given earlier, it has helped a lot of people refine the energy they want in their life. You and I have busy lives. Dr. Lance proves we all have busy lives. All of you are doing as many things in every second of your day as we are. You find time in your lives to do the things that matter to you. And part of your challenge is to tell that story to your customers, the people you speak to, the folks that you love and care about, to make sure they realize they have that control as well. Because if you don't feel like you control your destiny, then you're like a rudderless ship going through life. That saps everything from you.
When you're talking about energy, he knows what he's talking about. He definitely knows what he's talking about, and he practices what he teaches. Your schedule is insane. I mean, I'm blown away. Taping an Emmy-winning show, performing heart surgery every week, interviews, health corps, and having some fun like we did skiing. We had a good time.
Yeah.
There he is, good form.
Because it was just about to hit the tree. Oh,
that hurt.
Oh. So Dave was giving me tips on double polling.
Yeah, they're not crutches, they're curved. you just gotta, we're getting there, we'll get there. So I want to ask you a question about how you take on some of the controversial subjects that change the world. Recently, you won a controversial battle that you were attacked for. Could you please tell us a little bit about the arsenic in apple juice?
So, you may not realize this, but there's a little bit of arsenic in just about everything we put in our bodies. And the body has the ability to get rid of some of that arsenic. But when we look at populations that are exposed to higher levels of arsenic chronically, they have a higher incidence of cancer, heart disease. It actually wreaks havoc with many parts of their body, including the thought process. And so we began several years ago to look at arsenic in some of the most common things we were giving our children. And again, Health Corps, the Children's Foundation that Usana funds, has done a lot of work looking at these different kinds of toxins and the role they can play in our lives. So we've noticed that apple juice, which kids drink a lot of because moms who love their kids give it to them thinking it's healthy, and in its very core it is healthy, but it has, in some instances, more arsenic than we thought was appropriate. So we had a big conversation about this on this show. There was a lot of controversy. Some people accused us of fear-mongering. Some said we hadn't done the science right. But when we actually pulled all the information together, and the FDA, and although they were resistant to this initially, I really do have to applaud them. We live in a country where you can criticize the government, and if you have some merit, they will listen. And I'm proud of our country for that. So the FDA did their own studies, also found there were elevated levels of arsenic in some samples of apple juice. This is partly because in this country, we prohibited uses of arsenic-based pesticides about 25 years ago. But that's not true in other parts of the world, and most of the apple juice in this country comes from other countries. And so by identifying where those problems were, we now have new legislation, new rules by the FDA that will limit the amount of arsenic in apple juice, which makes it, I think, safer for all mothers to now feel comfortable that this beverage, which we grew up on, is equally safe today as it was a generation ago. So it was a long path. We took a lot of heat. I'll never forget a moment before the show aired that we first broke this news. And we had everybody on the phone together, including Oprah, her team, all the people that have been partners to us in the show. And they all said the same thing. If you're not going to take on important issues like this, there's no point doing a show. You need to do it because it's the right thing to do.
We definitely thank you for bringing toxins and dangers, the awareness about, so that we can get change and protect our families. It's so critical, especially protecting our young ones as they're developing. We want to keep things as pure as possible. Recently, I had the honor of being on your show to talk about another controversial topic, silver fillings.
You did a great job.
Stop rushing now. At what point should I be concerned? At what level is it, more than we're supposed to have?
Anything over 0 is toxic. So we're at 61.
Oh my goodness, 61?
61 micrograms.
He did a great job on the show. And when he gets bored, when Dave gets bored of this gig, he's going to host his own talk show. But I first saw this demonstration, and it did blow my mind, at the Radio City Music Hall event. And Dave and Dr. Wentz did this wonderful, very comedic routine. It was fabulous. But in the middle of all this humor, they were able to tell something very poignant to me about how we get mercury into our body just by brushing mercury fillings. How many of you have silver fillings? These mercury amalgam fillings? Most of the audience. I do. It's very common. And so we started doing our homework on this. When I was out visiting, I had this conversation with Dave. I asked Dave, would you be brave enough, willing to come on the show and just do this demonstration live? Let's just see what happens. And you did it, and you revealed that there's a lot of gassing, off-gassing. When you brush your teeth, these gases go into your mouth. So we've had a long-standing debate with several organizations about whether these silver fillings, these mercury amalgam fillings are safe. Half the dentists that I've spoken to don't use them anymore. They argue there's no reason to use them. I look forward to a day when all the dentists will come together and say, if we're not 100% sure something's safe, why take a chance? And the major societies will get them behind them at that point as well. But in the meantime, if you're going to have a filling in your mouth, we vote with our pocketbooks every time we do things. I think you should push your dentist and say, do I have to get a mercury amalgam? Why can't I just get a different filling? Because you should know that, as I mentioned, half the dentists don't ever use the other kinds of fillings. So you should always be able to be managed in a different way if you care about it.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thanks for having me on the show. I was so happy that glove box was there so that my knees, you couldn't see them shaking. That was terrifying. But he makes you at ease and does a fantastic job. We've attended his show.